A number of years ago, I had a student, a fourth grader, we'll call her Cindy, who was always getting off task. Independent work time was especially hard for her. I remember she couldn't get through even a simple 5 questions on a math worksheet without drifting. She'd stare off, she'd look around the room, she'd start daydreaming. And she was such a sweet girl. She had the cutest little look on her face as her eyes would just float up to the ceiling and her chin would start to go off to one side and she'd tilt her head. I'd go over and I'd tap her on the shoulder and remind her or redirect her. And I would stand close to her desk and she would just smile back and then get right back to work. But then about 60 seconds later, it was the same thing. She wasn't being defiant. She wasn't lazy. Yes, she was on an IEP and I was doing everything I was supposed to do according to the plan, but she just didn't know how to get herself back. That was also the same year I was learning about and developing how to use music in my classroom through sound tracking. Now, sound tracking is part of SEAL, Social Emotional Artistic Learning, and it's when you can intentionally choose music to play at various parts of your school day. I talk a lot more about this in episode 50, which I will link into the show notes. But it is so amazing how music can be utilized inside your classroom for different reasons and at different times. And that particular year, the year I had Cindy, was when I was really discovering how to use music in the classroom in this particular way. And for our math class, I started practicing with Cindy. When I saw her drift, I didn't just correct her. I went over quietly and I helped her use the music that I was playing during our class time to reset. We practiced noticing when attention was wandering, we practiced pausing, and we practiced re-entering the work. And we practiced that over and over again. Not just for one day or a couple of days and, kind of see if it would work, but I practiced that with her for about, at least 2 weeks. And one day, I looked at her and I could see that she was drifting. We made eye contact and then she did it on her own. She paused, she noticed the music, and she reset herself and went back to work. It was actually quite exciting, and she was really proud of herself as well. And that worked for a while until the best news ever. Her mom emailed me and asked about the music that we were listening to in class because Cindy wanted to play it during her homework time. Well, I emailed the links to her mom, and then just days later, the mom emailed me again to tell me that Cindy was using the same strategy at home while doing her homework. It was awesome. It was just so awesome to hear because the practicing that we did was working. This is the type of SEL that we can really apply to our classrooms and why it's also an essential part of my reset framework. It's the S inside the word reset, supporting students' SEL. And a big part of that is understanding that social emotional skills are not things that we can just expect a student will understand with a couple of reminders, but that students need to practice them in order for them to be useful later on. You need to practice before you need it. And Cindy was able to practice this in the classroom with my support and then use it on her own, not just in the classroom, but during homework sessions. I mean, how amazing is that? You can do the same thing in your classroom with your students, teaching them little social emotional skills that they can use in the classroom, in their lifetime, and even as you prepare for things such as testing season, which is right around the corner. In the weeks leading up to your high stakes test, that's when you should be practicing some calming strategies and some focus strategies that students can use while they're in the middle of testing season. And I go into more detail about this in episode 110, giving you some ideas. So make sure you check that out as well once you're done listening to this. Because you don't want to bring these out during the high stakes test, not when everything feels urgent to do and you want to practice these things instead when the stakes are low and students are a little bit more calm and a little bit more ready to try a strategy out. Because regulation isn't something that you just demand when the pressure is high, it's something you build up before you need it. And again, if you're looking for some ideas of strategies that you can try out, be sure to check out episode 110, where I share 3 specific strategies that you can use to help regulate the nervous system and help students to be more calm and focused. Now, I mentioned testing season because it is right around the corner, from when I'm dropping this episode at least, and it is the season when we suddenly expect students to be focused and silent for long periods of time, and that takes a lot of stamina and a lot of emotional control that your students may not be fully prepared for. But if students have practiced regulation before the pressure hits, we're all in a better place to take things on. Now, you just heard one story, right? One example, one shift that changed everything for Cindy. Imagine what could happen if you intentionally built more of these SEL supports into your classroom. That's exactly what we do inside the Classroom Reset. We don't pile strategies on just to pile them on. We identify the ones that you need in your classroom with your students, and then we build from there, at a pace that feels steady, not overwhelming, and with the support and guidance that feels comfortable and natural to you. Because you don't need a whole new initiative, you need a reset. So consider something that your students need to practice before they put it into play. What is something that they could do? You can support their growth and then just watch what happens. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.